Let me ask you this. Would you ever trust your only child with someone you barely know? Ngozi did, out of pity, and when she returned just 1 week later, her son was so pale and weak, she could hardly recognize him. What happened inside that house will leave you questioning who you can really trust. Ngozi adjusted the strap of her handbag and looked around her sitting room one last time. The air smelled of polish from the floor she had cleaned earlier that morning. Her only son, Chinedu, stood beside her, clutching her waist tightly. His big brown eyes looked worried. "Mummy, must you travel for so long?" he asked, his small voice filled with fear. Ngozi bent down, kissed his forehead, and smiled reassuringly. "My darling, it is only for 1 week. I need to go to Onitsha to buy goods for my shop. By the time I return, I will bring you plenty of things, new shoes, biscuits, and maybe even that football you wanted." Chinedu's eyes brightened a little, but as he turned, his gaze fell on Amaka, the 17-year-old girl who stood quietly by the doorway. She had been brought from the village only 3 months ago. Ngozi pitied her family's poverty and had promised to put her in school while she helped with small house chores. Ngozi looked at Amaka and said, "Please take good care of Chinedu. Make sure he eats well and does not lack anything. I trust you." Amaka bowed her head quickly. "Yes, Ani. Don't worry, I will look after him like my own brother." But as soon as Ngozi's car drove away, the smile on Amaka's face disappeared. She turned sharply toward Chinedu. "So, your mother has left you in my hands. You will see how life feels without all her pampering." Chinedu's heart skipped. Something in her tone made him shiver. The first day passed quietly. Amaka cooked rice, but when it was time to dish food, she scooped a small portion for Chinedu, plain rice with no stew and no meat. She, on the other hand, served herself a large plate, loaded with stew and 2 big pieces of beef. Chinedu looked at his plate in disbelief. But Mummy said I should always eat well." Amaka glared at him. "Keep quiet and eat what you're given. Do you think meat is only for you? Or do you think I came from the village to serve you like a queen?" The next morning, she woke him up before the sun was fully out. "Stand up," she barked. "Go sweep the compound, wash the plates, and fetch water. If you don't finish, no breakfast for you." Chinedu's small hands struggled with the heavy bucket of water. His thin arms ached as he tried to drag it into the kitchen. By evening, he was exhausted. Whenever he complained, Amaka would hiss, "Your mates in the village are doing far more. You are lucky I'm even allowing you to rest sometimes." She gave him Gary soaked in water for lunch, sometimes just dry biscuits for dinner. Slowly, his cheeks began to sink, his eyes lost their brightness, and his voice grew weaker. But Amaka didn't care. She felt a strange satisfaction seeing the once lively boy looking pale and tired. Thank you for watching up to this point. Please support my channel by subscribing. Thank you. Now back to the story. On the 7th day, Ngozi returned. She came back with bags full of goods and gifts. She was humming happily as she entered the compound, expecting to be greeted with Chinedu's laughter. Instead, she saw him sitting on the doorstep, his knees drawn up to his chest. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes dull. He looked so thin that her heart clenched instantly. "Chinedu," she cried, rushing to him. "What happened to you? Why do you look like this?" He blinked weakly, forcing a smile. "Mummy, you're back." His voice was faint, almost lifeless. Ngozi carried him inside, panic rising in her chest. She called Amaka at once. "Amaka, what is the meaning of this? Why is my son looking like he hasn't eaten in days?" Amaka stammered. "Ah no, Auntie, he is fine-o. Maybe it is just malaria. I gave him food every day." But Ngozi's eyes narrowed. She knew something was wrong. She rushed to the kitchen and opened the food store. Almost all the provisions were gone. The meats she had left in the freezer had disappeared. Yet her son looked as though he had been starving. She turned back to Chinedu. "Chinedu, tell me the truth. What happened while I was away?" Tears filled his eyes. He hesitated, afraid of what Amaka might do. But when he saw the worry on his mother's face, the words spilled out. "Mummy, she made me sweep, wash, and fetch water every day. She gave me only gari and biscuits. She ate all the meat herself. Sometimes I went to bed hungry." Ngozi's heart stopped. She felt anger rising inside her like fire. She turned to Amaka, who stood frozen, her face pale. "You wicked girl." Ngozi's voice thundered through the house. "I brought you here out of pity. I promised to send you to school, to give you a better life. And this is how you repay me? By maltreating my child." Amaka fell to her knees, trembling. "Auntie, please forgive me. It was the devil. I didn't mean." "Shut your mouth," Ngozi shouted, her eyes blazing with fury. "For 1 week, you made my only son suffer. Look at him. Does he look like the healthy boy I left behind? No pity, no heart. You are wicked beyond words." Tears streamed down Chinedu's face as he clung to his mother's arm. "Mummy, please don't leave me again." Ngozi hugged him tightly, her own tears falling. "Never again, my son. Never again." That night, after feeding Chinedu a proper meal and tucking him into bed, Ngozi packed Amaka's small bag. By morning, she called a driver and sent the girl back to her village. As Amaka's figure disappeared down the road, Ngozi whispered a silent prayer of thanks that she had returned in time. She vowed never again to entrust her child to the wrong hands. From that day forward, she became even more protective of Chinedu. And whenever neighbors asked why the maid had suddenly left, Ngozi would simply shake her head and say, "You wouldn't understand." And Chinedu, though still young, never forgot the lesson. Sometimes the people you pity the most can be the ones who hurt you the deepest. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button to support my channel and see more stories. Enjoy your day.